This audio is about a functional flying machine described in ancient text of India. The extract of the document is from the book of Extremely Ancient Aliens, Gary Baker, Andrew Conville. Also, the material is inspired and probably dictated by Valiant Thor, Venusian scientist arrived on Earth and that wrote at least 40-50 books or inspire so many books or more that I'm aware of. Okay, so let's listen to this explanation about an ancient flying machine based on probably Mercury.
Is light wood, Laghu Daru. Its shape is that of a huge bird, Mahavahanga, with a wing on each side. The motive force is then explained. In the bowels of the structure is to be a fire chamber with mercury placed over a flame. The power generated by the heated mercury, helped by the concurrent action of the wings, which are flapped by a rider inside, makes the yantra go up and travel far. A heavier Daru Vimana is then described. It contains not one, as is the previous case, but 4 pitchers of mercury over iron ovens. The boiling mercury ovens produce a terrific noise, which is put to use in battle to scare away elephants. By strengthening the mercury chambers, the roar could be increased, so that by it, the elephants are thrown completely out of control. This specific military use of aircraft against elephants tempts one to suggest that the Hasti Yantra, advocated by Kautilya against elephants, was something like the heavier Daru Vimanyana described by Bahoja. There may be something lacune in that description. Bahoja does not fail to mention that some vital knowledge is kept back as a secret, an idea which we noticed in the Brihekatha story also. It is, however, clear the mercury vapor ought not to be confused as providing any lifting power. It was evidently converted into mechanical power, and the machine must have risen by the flapping of the wings, and further movement must have been due to the manipulation of the wings and the flow of air itself, on the analogy of the flights of birds. This may come as somewhat of a depressant to the flying saucer buffs, since they seem to have gained the impression that the Vimanas are wingless craft that could not fly over a bunch of elephants, but also over all the world and into outer space. The flapping wings as a means of gaining lift will be a disappointment to the engineers and probably provoke wry smiles among them, to say the least. But to a whole new breed of scholars that has only recently arisen, it is going to give much cheer and impetus to their various studies. These are the historians of technology who are working out of a dozen cultural centers scattered all over the world now, all of whom are bringing to light an increasing flow of actual, tangible artifacts that are either themselves technical devices or scale models of such, all the way from selenial calendars from the late Paleolithic to various aeroforms between 500 BC and 500 AD. That the ancients did have a knowledge of flight can no longer be denied. However, the Indians alone offer us concrete written information on power sources for them. The Near Eastern items would appear to be gliders or sailplanes, though one Roman blandly states that he made his model fly by compressed air. Who, I ask, was compressing air in 200 AD? The South American types probably would not fly without power, but we are having copies of these tested in a NASA wind tunnel because, if they can do so, we will have one of the greatest breakthroughs in aerodynamics yet. The ancient Egyptian item is the most exciting and confusing of all because, while it has the conformity to be a glider, its fuselage looks more like a heavy lift cargo plane we now have on the drawing boards, but which is still full of bugs. However, here we are more interested in the engines that are alleged to have activated these aerial machines. In Science magazine, 3rd January 1969, two scientists, Gerald Schubert and J.A. Whitehead, described a remarkable discovery that they had made about heating mercury. On filling a wide, shallow circular dish of mercury, and then revolving a naked flame around and around under said dish, they observed that the mercury began to revolve in a contrary direction and with increasing velocity. So far, we have been unable to find anything further published on this or any subsequent experiments, but we'll be applying directly to Messrs. Schubert and Whitehead. Did all that noise come from the mercury or from the machinery it drove? We must assume that this was part of the secret, and so we shall never know unless somebody with an eye to this mystery spots something in the text by a renegade technician. The Indian princes seem to have maintained whole stables of such purely practical working technicians and, presumably, labs for them to work in. A few writings by such have been found, giving rather intimate details of